So, hello everyone to another episode of Eliminate the Gap podcast. I am always excited to be co-hosting with my good friend Eric this podcast. So, I'm also very, very excited to see that we are exceeding the 38,000 viewers on these episodes. So I'm glad that we're actually making a difference across all continents around the globe. So let's keep on going with that. I'm very happy to introduce our guests today. We have Starla Hart and Andrea Russell from IU Health to talk to us about their most recent endeavor with the Mosaic Center. So, welcome, and we're really looking forward to a great show today.
Good morning, good day, and thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sharuk. I appreciate that. Yeah, very excited to have Andrea and Starla join us from, in my mind, in the Mosaic Center, but at IU Health, and you all kind of about that relationship here in a moment. But anyway, again, I echo Sharuk in thanking folks to be loyal viewers and listeners. We put out a map on our social media this past week representing kind of where our listeners are living, and it's more than a couple dozen countries. I'm just always amazed at that kind of thing when you see that graphic representation. So anyway, so welcome. Sharuk, go ahead, kick us off.
All right, so let's start this with maybe telling us a little bit about how this initiative came to life and, what brought it about. What brought this kind of partnership? It's such an interesting partnership, especially in a very important and dynamic sector, I have to say.
Yes, it is. So we can't take credit, Andrea or I can't take credit of this being our initial brainchild. But there were several community leaders that were interested in figuring out how healthcare can be more leveraged more in the community and help hurting neighborhoods at the same time that IU Health was looking at the need for talent and really looking at, the vast anchor they are in so many communities, having hospitals but having a real need for people, for workers, and how could they make a bigger impact, meeting their talent needs, but also making a bigger economic impact in the community. And so just kind of thinking through that, there were several individuals for a couple of years that looked at different community workforce development models. They looked at talent recruitment models. They looked at across a variety of different ways they could figure out how to put this together. And they finally landed on adapting a model called the Financial Opportunity Center, or Bridges to Career Opportunity Center model that's a part of the Local Initiative Support Corporation in the US. And so LISC for short. And in this model, usually workforce development centers are embedded in neighborhoods, and individuals have an opportunity to work on soft skills, resume writing, interviewing. They get to potentially participate in skill building trainings. So, HVAC training, health skills training, manufacturing, logistics. They might get to participate in these trainings with hopes to having a job and employer partners on the other end. Usually the weakest link in that equation has been the employer linkage. Once someone's prepared and they've been supported at the community center level, they go off to an employer, and then it kind of from the community perspective kind of goes into a black hole. You don't know what happens. You don't know if someone's getting the same support. Usually if folks are a little bit more financially stable, they're not as frequenting their phone calls and their appointments as much, and that sort of thing. And so what we decided to do, or the folks at IU Health decided to do, was to take that model and to figure out how to embed it within the healthcare system, within our organization itself as an employer, and as a with a focus on healthcare jobs. And so we know that there's going to be vast shortages of employees in healthcare over the next decade. We also know that actually, because healthcare is such an anchor in communities, they provide a great job. They provide full benefits, they provide good wages where folks can have a livable wage. And so just putting all those pieces together kind of created the Mosaic Center. And so we're really excited about launching this initiative. We're focused on adapting that workforce normally community embedded workforce model, which is really the cornerstone of it, is coaching. So our team consists of a variety of financial coaches, career coaches, resource coaches, which are social workers that can help people address all types of barriers. And so in naming the center, we want people to just feel like they can come through our doors virtually or in person and receive a mosaic of supports that can help them build their career and their financial futures for their family.
Sorry. So Mosaic comes from the variety of services and programs and supports that are there. I was curious the derivation of the name. I could guess, but that you weaved it in there quite nicely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's interesting. So a lot of our audience is comprised of teachers, after-school providers, funders, policymakers, but also those just working in community development as a whole. And so while you all have a lane or two, I guess I was reflecting a little bit on the fact that Mosaic Center and what IU Health is seeking to do is not just be a monolith in the community, but really how do we embrace clearly based on a model, but there are many partners beyond LISC and IU Health that are involved in trying to make this work and meet the community's needs. So talk to us a little bit about that community mobilization piece. And more importantly, how do you effectively coordinate these partners who might have diverging interests from time to time?
Yeah, well, there are definitely a lot of partners. And from what I hear at IU Health, this is the first initiative they've had with them, like the most community-based partners ever. So it's quite an undertaking for the organization to really conceptualize that and how to pull all the pieces together. So in their genius, they wrote in a partnership liaison. So it's actual formal role on our team that we have someone dedicated to helping us maintain and manage all the variety of relationships we have. And like you mentioned, they're both internal relationships, because only two of our 10 team members actually come from a healthcare background. The rest of us come from community or workforce or higher ed or other places, other pieces of the puzzle. And so for us, it's really important to figure out how to develop internal partnerships with all the various departments that are in these various career pathways in healthcare, both clinical and non-clinical, as well as community partners. And we have a variety of community partners, everything from K-12 system, which we'll talk a little bit about, higher ed, training providers, housing providers, folks that can help our members with rental assistance or home ownership. We even have some specialty partnerships that really help us target some high need populations that really need additional support in building a career, like Foster Success and Recovery Cafe. So Foster Success helps support young people that have aged out of foster care, but still need that additional support. And Recovery Cafe helps for individuals that are in various types of recovery. And we're really honing in on that population, thinking about peer recovery coaches, behavioral health career avenues where, folks can help others get over addictions or issues that they may have that are more significant in their life. So we have a vast array of partners, like you said. And so we just have quarterly convenings where we bring folks together and try to keep them informed, and networking events, as well as then just building that relationship with that partnership liaison, just maintaining that constant contact to make sure we're all individual organizations, but we have one purpose in terms of improving the economic lives of others and the opportunities for them. And so we try to make that our North Star and build the partnership components around that.
That's great. Andrea, I wanted to maybe think, I know you all just recently formally launched, right? And it's been a lot of planning and work ahead of time. So if you can think of like maybe an example of something that was challenging during that kind of prepping period, and how'd you all overcome that? Where was that kind of moment where you were able to kind of overcome that?
Oh, where to start? I think it was really great. So first, have to give credit to all of the genius minds that came together and conceptualized what this program could look like. All the different components of the Mosaic Center. I think the challenge came in terms of how do you operationalize a conception, right? So how do you think about what are all the strategies that are needed to think about individuals coming into the door, getting the support and services that they need. And so there was a lot of work that was done to visit various different community centers within the state and even out of the state as well, but thinking about what will really work for our community, what will work for our population as we talk about the fellowship program for our high school students, what that looks like in terms of continuously staying on the cusp of what is needed to help them reach higher levels of success and really provide the wraparound supportive services that they need. So I think the greatest challenge has been operationalizing the plan. And I can think across many organizations and entities and startups, it's you have an idea, how do you put that idea into motion?
Yeah, that's a great example, and I appreciate you sharing that. There are a lot of great ideas out there. A lot of folks have thoughts and actually bringing them to fruition, and then kind of managing, in this particular case, a lot of different potential interest areas is so kudos to you all for the smooth start thus far, at least. And so I'm sure it will continue. One of the things that when Starla and I were chatting before this episode was the fact that you all don't just focus at all on young people, right? You're focused on the community and underserved populations, sure, with the target of how do we lift up all the folks in the community and help, in particular, this field. But tell us, you've alluded to it a couple of times, so let's talk a little bit, though, about the initiative or the emphasis you have with Crispus Attucks, a local high school here in Indianapolis, and maybe some others that specifically, what is it that you're doing with that group of young people to bring them through this process you described?
Well, Starla alluded to this earlier, thinking about the staffing shortages that will be coming about. And I would certainly say those have been heightened since the pandemic. And so the individuals that really came together to think about what the Mosaic Center could be in the fellowship could be certainly were ahead of their time in thinking about what's needed to create a pipeline of talent into healthcare careers, be it clinical or non-clinical. I'm so passionate about the program because it provides individuals with the opportunity to be exposed to healthcare careers early and often. I'm a huge advocate for exposure, as you can expose individuals to various different opportunities or even ways of thinking. You're able to unlock their potential and really to forge a bright path ahead. And so thinking about the fellowship program, creating a pipeline of talent to healthcare careers, but also diversifying the workplace, having our patient population be mirrored in the team that comes alongside them is providing that care. And when we think about IU Health's mission and vision to be one of the healthiest states, what we do know is that when individuals have access to higher levels of income, they're able to invest personally in their healthcare. And so it really comes full circle. So providing our students with opportunities to see themselves as successful will help them take the appropriate steps to be successful, and then have them be the tide that maybe raises all ships within their community. And so thinking about we really come alongside the students in a very supportive way, not just to support their curriculum, but provide them with work-based learning opportunities such as internships, providing them with certifications. They'll be earning dual credits, but also understanding that so many of our students are first-generation college students. And so what does it mean to see yourself being successful and understand the steps that are needed to get there? So filling out a college application, how do you write an essay? Those are all very needed steps, but thinking about what is my character? How do I develop as an individual so that I'm leading both inside and outside of the classroom? And we allow our students to really grow to reach their full potential. And I believe that the more each generation can unselfishly invest in the generations coming after them, the better we all will be because of it.
That's, I appreciate you sharing that. And a lot of it's resonant for Sharuk and I, for sure, because whether you're here in the near west side of Indianapolis or elsewhere around the world, same kinds of things are needed, same kinds of opportunities, same kind of activation is critical.
Yeah, and I really love this community embedded workforce model. I love that. It's such a, spot on kind of phrase, because it is true. You cannot start this kind of initiative without making sure that you have all these different elements within the respective community involved in it, and really, gearing up to do something about it. And it is really, really amazing. And I guess that, we all have our influencers, if you could say, people who have, impacted our lives in one way or the other, that has allowed us to actually, say, okay, this is the path I want to go on, and this is what I want to achieve, and take it a little bit, one step further, and really create that impact that maybe at that time may not have been that feasible, or that possible, for whatever the reasons are. And over the last couple of years, we've all been, seeing this whole mosaic, if you want to call it, get into place. No matter which country you're at, everyone now is focused on how do we bring all these things together to actually create the intended impact, and to support, critical survival of, our future youth, and even our existing communities at the moment, with everything that is taking place, from be it economical, psychological, or whatever it is. It's really of importance. So I want to, we ask each of our audience and our guests, tell us a little bit, what has made you get to this point. Who are the people that have influenced you, and made you reach this certain, this heightened level of incredible initiatives, such as the one that you're launching, and to gain this kind of achievement. What were the success factors that you were looking at all the time?
Take it first.
I'll start.
The question is for both of you, by the way.
I will be remiss if I didn't say my mother. I know that's a cheesy answer, but my mother has always been just a high proponent of education. And so really instilling in me and my siblings just the value of education. I'm serving as my elementary school PTO president, going on to be a school social worker. And so just being a lifelong learner was important to her. And she certainly passed that down to all of us, and really being involved and engaged in the community. I would also have to say we cannot overstate the impact that early learning has on individuals. I was fortunate enough to attend Head Start and Cold Spring Academic Academy. And I think back to, and those were my preschool and my elementary school, respectively. And those experiences that I had played such an integral role in who I am today. The culture, the experiences that they were able to sustain and cultivate were truly profound. The way they were able to make learning accessible, to make information fun, to make individuals feel seen and known and understood, certainly served as a catalyst to help me aspire to learn, to achieve, to be great. And so having early educators take a sincere interest in me has made me want to grow and develop. And I think maybe selfishly want to be someone that they could be proud to say they have known and engaged with.
Oh, yes.
Have you
So-
have you had an opportunity to let any of those folks know that?
I have, so interestingly enough, one of my teachers still works at Cold Spring Academic
Right.
Academy,
Oh,
and I
wow.
volunteered there maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they were still there. And the school secretary just happened to be volunteering. And after 20 plus years, I was able to connect with them and just share just the impact that at 5, 6, 7 years old, 20, 30 years down the road, how much that sincerely meant to me. So it's kind of, we were a small school at that point in time. And I mean, it was everyone, not just from the teachers, but the lunch ladies, from the janitor, from the school nurse. Everyone just had a true orientation to helping and serving and making sure that we felt prepared and purposed and also cared about in our school community. I can go on and say we had a whole unit where we talked about chocolate. So that was fun, and that was a caveat, but it was ways just to integrate and make students feel that anything was possible, that education is not rigorous, that it's necessary, but can also be fun. And it could also really be, as I say, you know, raising the tides and helping you think and explore what is the art of possible.
That's so good. I can't follow that very well. But when I think about this question, it's funny. I used to ask it of my students in higher ed a lot, and I just was like hoping, keeping my fingers crossed that no one would actually ask me the question too, because folks would have such great answers. And when I think back to how I got into doing community work, I didn't have an example. My family were all blue collar workers, you know, they worked hard. And so I feel like my work ethic, my mom's sentiment of do something right or don't do it at all. Like, what do you, some of those things echo in the way I do work now, but it definitely wasn't the work that they did, that you can't see a direct alignment sometimes to the work that my family did and the work that I do now. And I spend a lot of time actually at family gatherings explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing and why I didn't just go to medical school, because at one point I wanted to be a doctor myself. So even working in healthcare now is full circle. But I end up explaining these things a lot. And so I don't know about that part, but I do definitely, there have been individuals in the course of my life as I've gone along the way that have just made me notice things in a different way, and illuminate the possibilities that exist in terms of what I'm bringing to the table and how it could be leveraged for the broader community. And so as an undergrad student at IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, I was president of the Black Student Union and involved in the community. I was involved with Marion County Commission on Youth as a community service scholar and did volunteer hours, but I did a bunch of different things, but didn't really understand how they could all come together. And it was one mentor that I had that had been deputy mayor of the city of Indianapolis that at the time was helping me put on this big, huge dinner with Dr. Henry Louis Gates and all of these things. And she's like, Starla, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm just doing all the things. And she was like, but what's the broader purpose? And she was like, what are you going to do with your now from medical degree to communications degree? What are you doing with all of this time you're giving of yourself to advocate for students on campus and do all these things in community? Like, how is this coming together for you? And she was like, have you ever considered working in the nonprofit sector? And I'm like, what is that? Am I going to get paid? I don't understand this. What do you mean? My mom is going to kill me. It's, I equated that with like, I wouldn't poo-poo on it now, but like BMA, like a philosophy major, like, what do you do with it besides think? Like, I wasn't quite sure how that worked. And she just exposed me to that. I was able to then add on some certifications to my undergrad degree in nonprofit management. And I've gone on and got other degrees in the work, but she was the first person that really said, like, take a look at what you're doing. You're contributing so much. How can you make this come together better? How can you make this, a part of a longer term impact in the community? And so she was the first person that did that. And I attribute my now 20 plus year career in nonprofit to her. So.
Yeah, that's not, both of those are great examples, and it's never a cheesy answer to pick your parent or family member by any means. But it's interesting, and at its essence, youth development is very much at the forefront of this podcast. And you all just articulated the fundamentals of youth development. Really, you had caring, consistent adult presence, whether it be your family members or people in early education, later in your career, people not telling you what not to do, but really asking you and promoting other things to try and spread and push your boundaries. I mean, that's all youth development, as you all know, but just a reminder there to our audience that just reflecting on our own lives and our own kind of arc, once again, reinforces how critical the youth development approach is, whether you're in education formally, whether you're working with young people in an initiative like the Mosaic Center is, or the Shiruk is around workforce and voc ed, or whatever it might be. How important I feel, and I know many of you do, how important having that at the forefront of the approaches of helping young people thrive is critical. So that's just me. I'll get back off my soapbox around that. And just say, as our time has come to a close here, thank you very much for taking some time with us to share this exciting, and while it might not seem groundbreaking to you all, it's an approach that hasn't really happened a lot or enough around the world. And so you all are in a lot of ways are taking the bumps and bruises for others to learn from. So as somebody here that lives in your community, I'm grateful. And somebody that's in the field with you all, even more so. So again, Andrea, Russell, Starla, Hart, thank you so much for spending time with us. We look forward to sharing more information when we release this episode, the additional information that you all can find out about the Mosaic Center, and kind of track their progress and success that's forthcoming. So I appreciate it. Shiruk, do you have any parting thoughts before we sign off this episode?
We're going to be, closely following each and every step in terms of how this is going to come to life, because I really do think it's incredible. And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us today. We appreciate the opportunity. We'd love to keep you posted on all the things as they keep developing, and appreciate the time that you in the conversation this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
You.
And to all of you out there, we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.